let's see what you think of our top 5 games of all time.
Kind of ignore the ranking because we do think of the next 5 to 1 as basically on the same level.
Yeah, I mean, if someone comes to me and goes, what's my favourite game of all time? The easy answer is my number 1. I don't know. I would say I've got about 20 games which I would say these are my favourite game. And it all depends on what kind of mood I'm in at the time. If something on this list intrigues you and you haven't played it before, then I urge you to seek it out because these are all great games on both of our lists. So I hope you enjoy.
So midway point. So for me, my number 5 is Great Western Trail, New Zealand. We do actually own all of the Great Western Trails.
All of the new editions.
New editions,
but we did have the first edition. When the second edition came out, it kind of improved a few elements that we didn't like about it and made it a little bit more inclusive and just looks better. So it was kind of a no-brainer to upgrade. And then obviously these other versions of it came out, and it's a game that we both really enjoy. So it kind of made sense to buy them all.
I think they're all different enough to justify owning them all.
I mean, they're different enough to justify owning them all if you enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's true.
In the same way as if you really love Brass Birmingham and you have Brass Lancashire as well, you know, it's just a different way of playing a game that you enjoy. If it was a case of, okay, I've never played Great Western Trail, which of the 3 versions should I get? Should I just get the second edition? Should I get Argentina? Or should I get New Zealand? What would you say?
Obviously, I would say New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
So I'd say that out of learning all of them, I actually found this one the easiest to understand. I found the first game, it took me a while to pick it up. Then we played Argentina next and I picked that up a little faster, and then we played this and this one just gelled with me. I think what I like probably that sets it apart from the other 2 is I like the aspect of the sheep cards. I can use them 2 different ways. I don't have to wait to the end like the cows to sell them. I can actually shear them halfway through going around the board to use them for something else.
Yeah.
Rather than just constantly have to keep them for the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that puts it above for me. I like the separate board with the boats that you can go around, which feels like you're doing something different to the rest of the game entirely when you're doing that aspect.
But it does integrate with it.
Yeah.
Because things that you trigger on that board trigger on the main board. So it's just an additional thing to think about, but it's kind of in the same way as if you were doing a Stefan Feld game with lots of little mini aspects of the game. They all kind of encompass together as a whole.
I just feel like I find this game a lot easier
than the other versions.
Yeah, than the other versions. I find it easier to get cards. I find it easier to build houses. I find it easier to get money. It's not like it's an easier game. It's just I think it just works better for me, and I like the theme. Like I love cowboys, love a good cowboy, but yeah,
sheep over cows.
Sheep over cows, unfortunately. So I'd say having the dual use sheep, I think is a better mechanic. Really, I just feel like I'm not as limited in this game as I sometimes feel in the other Great Western Trails. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just a fun game. Yeah, it's a fun game to play. I'll happily play it any time. It's a brilliant game.
So I'd say I love all of the Great Western Trails, but yeah, this one always edges out of the front for me. So that's Great Western Trail, New Zealand.
So my number 4 is... So my number 5 is Food Chain Magnate, and I've got a bit of an odd version of Food Chain Magnate because it's not a looker. And I know there's a new Kickstarter version coming out, but I printed... Someone on BGG made slightly better looking versions of the map tiles, so I kind of made my own version of it using those tiles as opposed to playing on them. And then I've got all sort of extra resources that were a little bit more thematic. So that's one of the problems people have with the game, that it kind of just doesn't look great. I've called it the print and play version, even though obviously I got the main version and I kind of added the elements myself. But yeah, Food Chain Magnate, it's just such a clever game. It's difficult, yeah. It is complicated, but it's not so complicated that you can't kind of teach to someone who is somewhat familiar with games and they can't at least try to play the game. Now, the main thing that happens in this game is you play it for the first time and you lose. And you lose from turn one almost, because it's so punishing. You'll never be able to catch up with people who are in the lead. So yes, it is a game that you kind of need to learn the meta of what's going on. You need to learn strategy. What's important in this game is not just learn the rules, it is important to learn strategy. And that just takes time. In which case, it's not a game that I can recommend to everyone. I know you're not a huge fan of this game.
No, this is one where I probably don't have much to say like all your others. It just doesn't work for me. I can't get the strategy. I'm not made for this game. It's not that the game's not made for me. I am not made for games like this. It doesn't work with my thought processes, and I just can't.
And look, I'm not great at this game either, but it's a game that every time I play it, I just go, God, that was so clever. Even though I don't think I've ever really won this game, I might have won it a couple of times. I just enjoy the mechanics of what's going on in it so much. If you're at all intrigued by this game, I would certainly recommend you give it a shot, even if it means that you're just going to get schooled by better players. But I mean, I like From Software games. I love playing a game of Bloodborne or Dark Souls, whatever, and so I don't mind losing. I don't mind. This is basically what I'm trying to say is this is basically the Dark Souls of board games. You're gonna play it and you're gonna lose, but if you're enjoying it and you're up for a bit of hard strategy learning, then eventually you'll come out on top and you'll appreciate just what a clever game this is.
My number 4 is possibly one of the more unattractive games that exists.
I mean, we have just brought out Odin, but still, this takes the cake.
It is Castles of Burgundy. Now, we'll ignore how sort of unappealing aesthetically it looks. It's very like
brown,
vomit colours and beige, isn't it? But I just love this. This never leaves my top 10 because I just think the mechanics are so sound. It works so well. I understand why it's had a reprint recently.
It's had 2 reprints.
2 reprints, even though it's a bit too over the top now with all the actual physical miniature versions of things. But I can understand why it's tried to have a reprint to make it look better, because obviously it's a game lots of people love because it's just really great mechanics. Again, it's another one where you have dice, you roll it, and whatever that number is determines what actions you are capable of doing. But I never find that you can't do something. Every time I play it, I always have fun. I always enjoy it, whether or not I win or lose. I think it's a great game. It's ugly as sin, but beautiful to play. There you go. That's all I've got to say. But yeah, I don't think this will ever leave my top 10. I just think this is one of the more sounder games to mechanics I've ever seen.
Yeah. What number was that?
4.
So my number 4 is also Castles of Burgundy. I didn't realise it was the same number.
One of probably the only crossovers we'll have.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's not much crossover in our top 10, but I enjoy all of the games in your top 10, and you enjoy most of the games in my top 10.
Yes, we've already heard about my thoughts on Future Magnate.
Yeah, and you're not a huge fan of the more fighty games in my top 10, but you will happily play them. And I think the ones that are my favourites are your favourites out of that genre. It's just it's not a genre that's high up for you. And you typically prefer thematic games more so than me, but we both like thematic games and we both like complex games, and we also like fun puzzles. And one thing we like is we both like Stefan Feld games, but when it comes to the best Stefan Feld game, it's just Castles of Burgundy. There's others that we enjoy. We both like Trajan,
yeah.
I mean, you can tell from the sheets that I've made what Stefan Feld games I enjoy. We've obviously played quite a lot, but ultimately Castles of Burgundy is just it's just almost like a perfect game. There is no bagginess to it whatsoever. The only complaint you can have for it is the aesthetics. But then there's a new version that came out a few years ago, which sort of improved the aesthetics, and then there's I think the Awakened Realms made the newest version, which is just taking it to sort of a ridiculous level, but it now can look good. But ultimately, you don't need that. It stands so much on its own merit as just a great game that you don't need plastic figures to enjoy the game. You're perfectly fine putting out pictures of little pigs and sheep and terrible little yellow action tiles and stuff. Again, like Orleans, it's one that you kind of forget about how good a game it is until you get it off the shelf and play it again. So this is a video from us two telling you to get Castles of Burgundy off your shelf and just play it, because there's a few games that you can play and go, oh, I'm not in the mood for that right now, or that wasn't so good this time. Castles of Burgundy will always be a good game. You'll always have a good game of it. Doesn't matter whether you win or lose. At the end of it, you will have had a satisfying experience, and that's why it is just in our top 5.
Yep. My number 3 is Prêt-à-Porter.
Is it Prêt-à-Porter?
We'll look it up.
Prêt-à-porter would be the typical French pronunciation, but it'd be fine in English or American to say Prêt-à-porter.
My number 3 is Prêt-à-Porter. This is one where, unlike the previous one with castles, theme is massively important to me, because I love fashion. Fashion is one of my special interests in life, so I was so excited to find out that there was a board game that was basically devoted to the fashion industry. And it isn't just a theme that's just put on and it doesn't really matter, it could be any theme. Like Lacerda's games that we mentioned, this theme is integral. It is all about not just making a nice fashion line, it's about building a fashion industry and working within the fashion industry. This game is really, really well researched. They really thought out, how does the fashion industry run? What is every aspect of it? And they have totally melded it with the mechanics in a way that just is so coherent, works so well in the theme, and you can't really change the mechanics of this without completely breaking the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just inherent to it, is it? I mean, it's an economics game.
Yeah, it's definitely economics. You're basically a fashion house who is trying to build a fashion line. Then at the end of each round, you are showcasing your fashion line in a runway to try and sell your designs.
Yeah, but ultimately it's an economics game because it just comes down to money. So obviously it's about cash flow. So if you're buying materials and paying workers and stuff, then you need to be able to generate enough revenue to have enough to go into the next round to do well, but also pay off any debts and pay towards...
Pay your workers, pay your materials and fees, pay your loans. You can get loans in this. You need to make sure you can pay back all your loans that you have for running your business.
And I will say, because of the theme, I think this game becomes quite an underrated game. Because in comparison to other economics games that we enjoy, like Pipeline and Brass Birmingham, I'm sure there's a few others that I can't think of right now, but I mean, we do typically quite like economics games, but we don't typically like stocks games too much.
Yeah.
Like the 18XX games. But honestly, this is probably one of my favourite economics games.
I think it's an
certainly yours.
Excellent economic game.
Yeah.
The mechanics work so well. Really having to think about every aspect just to create my fashion line so that I'm not later on screwing myself over and like running my business into the ground. And part of that is because I'm someone who loves themes so much. This theme speaks to me. I'm so glad someone has married one of my special interests into a really well thought out, excellent game.
But also, I mean, even if the theme doesn't speak to you, because this, I would say, this is such an underrated game, this edition is so pretty and so well thought out, but it goes for so cheap. I'm seeing people selling this secondhand for 25 quid. For 25 quid, this is honestly, well, it's certainly one of your favourite games of all time. It's up there for me. 25 quid for a game of this quality with this level of production is just a no-brainer, certainly to try it out. So if you haven't played this or you haven't heard of it, definitely give it a try. You know, the theme should win you over, because sometimes it's just almost more interesting to have something that is unusual to see as a theme in a board game.
And if you're not used to this theme, you will actually see within the mechanics how actually interesting this theme is, because of everything that you need for this sort of the economic market, for this whole thing to work. There is lots of aspects you need that may make you actually also appreciate what the fashion industry itself has to do to work. And that it just goes to show how well researched this game is, that they understand if you don't have all these aspects, you are not going to be a good fashion house. You are not going to win fashion shows and make money. You're just not going to be a great name in the industry.
We should be encouraging designers to think outside the box and kind of come up with ideas for interesting themes that just aren't really as represented in board gaming as much.
If you like economic games and you want to try something that is really, really good, unique theme
with great production value.
Yeah, brilliant production value. Please give Prêt-à-Porter a try.
So, my number 3. My God, that's so heavy. Try picking that up.
Jesus.
It's A Feast for Odin. So, I don't know if you've got any Uwe Rosenberg games on your top 10. I don't think you have.
I don't think I do, although I will say, obviously, I do agree. I love Uwe Rosenberg games. It's the same with Steffenfeld. I love probably nearly all their games.
My favourite Uwe Rosenberg game is A Feast for Odin. I've put it at my number 3. Would you say it's your favourite Uwe Rosenberg game? Yeah,
I would actually say, even though it's not in my top 10, this is also my favourite Rosenberg game.
I mean, one of my other favourite Uwe Rosenberg games is actually Bonanza, which is just a simple little being card game. That game is brilliant, and it's outside my top 10, but honestly it's brilliant. But in terms of what I want from an Uwe Rosenberg game, which is a kind of sandbox experience where you can kind of do whatever you want out of a choice of, I don't know, 2,000 action spaces. I think there's about 70 places where you can move your worker to. So yeah, it's a worker placement game with tile laying. You're putting workers out, you're getting stuff, and then you're playing a game of Tetris. And at the start of every game, you look down at the boards in front of you and you go, okay, there's no way I'm ever going to fill this board. It's just impossible. And then at the end, you just about make it. But I mean, I don't ultimately like sandbox games that much, but I do like options. And this game gives you options to kind of do whatever you want. But what I like about it is I can kind of just focus. I can go into it and go, okay, today I'm just going to be all about cows. I'm a cow dude. Everything in my life is cows. Is there even cows in this game? Hopefully there's cows.
I think there is. There's only a sheep on there, but I'm sure it is.
If there isn't cows in this game, it's because I've gotten mixed up with a plethora of other similar games. But anyway, it's just the best game he's ever made. And we play it with the Norwegian's expansion, and it's just a no-brainer. You should always play with that expansion in. It elevated it into my top 10. And I would never play without it. I know there's more expansions coming. I know they could certainly add stuff to this game, but I actually don't know if they need to. It's going to be a case of where I really have to think about whether I want to expand this game further than it already is, because to me, there's so much in this game. There's so many cards, and you only ever see 5 a game each. There's so many ways of playing. There's so many viable ways of playing. It's not a point salad game by any means, but it is also a game where every way of focusing and playing the game will work, as long as you focus your strategy around it, not just kind of closing your eyes and picking something at random. And that is a sign of just excellent design to me.
I would agree. I'd feel like expansions coming out, I'd really, really have to see, because currently I don't think it needs it. I'm happy with it, everything that it already includes.
It's more there's just so much to explore.
Yeah.
In here as it is, I almost feel like
it doesn't need it. I feel.
Give me one lifetime to figure out what's in here before you kind of clutter it any further.
Yeah, I feel like at the moment, I've got enough with this that I don't need anymore. I'm so happy. Fuck you, this board.
Nearly there. Who's number 2?
So, my number 2 is actually a second Lasada on my list, which is quite surprising, but it is Lisboa. I think 10 years ago, I would have never thought a game like this, let alone 2, would be in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I honestly think this is Lasada's best game.
Look at that cover.
It's one, absolutely beautiful. One of the most beautiful looking games I've ever seen. The board, all the components, the box, it's just absolutely beautiful. When I first played this, it was just so confusing because it feels like, what are you on about? It's so hardcore when you first try and explain this to someone new, all the rules. But once you get it, it's, for me personally, it just clicks. It feels very simple. It's like a node graph of just like, okay, if I want to do this, I have to do this because that leads to this. And that means that all these other things are now open to you to do. You're basically playing a card to one of 2 areas, and that then branches off into a selection. Once you've got that down, this game is, I find, not that hard to actually grasp. It's a very, very niche theme. It's one of the nichest themes I've ever seen. A very specific time period in Portugal's history where they suffered a flood, fire and an earthquake, destroyed the city, and where you are in this point of the game is you are helping the king, the bishop and the... Oh, sorry. What are they called?
I mean, I'm impressed that you even know that, because I just know it's like there's a blue, a pink and a green dude, and you just kind of working with them to help rebuild the city.
Yeah, it's like a king, a politician and that, and you basically have 3 nobles, let's say, that you are visiting to help rebuild the city. That's all you're doing. You're removing all of the damage and rebuilding the city. And obviously it's also teaching you the importance of wigs, because it's very important. Wigs are one of the most important things in 18th century Portugal.
What's interesting is you're talking about the way of playing the game as kind of working through a graph, and that's probably because you're using my player aid, and that's kind of made you go, okay, well, you know, when you do this, you work along and you do that. And then, because I remember reading these rules and going, okay, I get this game, but I kind of need to sort of visualize how, yes, you have 2 sets of cards, and each card can be played in one of 2 ways, either into your personal board or into the noble's office on the main board. But when I was trying to think about how to sort of simplify that, I really struggled at first, and you can tell from the amount of iterations of the player aids that I've made that this is a game that we kind of really had to work through to try and perfect. And we certainly played it wrong quite a few times, just a few little rules wrong throughout, because there is quite a few little edge cases, and there's certainly quite procedural ways of thinking through things. But it does kind of become intuitive, and then you can work away from the player aid eventually when you know the rules. And it is a heavy game. In terms of like what you're actually doing, it's not too bad, but it's a heavy game. But it's a really clever game, and like, working around such a niche theme and making it work, but also tying those mechanics so integrally into that theme. It's just a fantastic design.
I think that probably goes to show why it's in my top 5, let alone one of my top games of all time. The fact that it is a very hard game, it's a hard, heavyweight game, but the fact that I'm going, oh no, it's really easy to understand, it's this graph, it's that shows you how much I love this and how much I play it, that I find this just easy to understand. Yeah, it's just a wonderful theme that is so, like we said with other Lacerda games, very integral. You couldn't reskin this. He has connected it to the mechanics so intrinsically that you can't reskin it. So it's been so well thought out. It looks great. It's so fun when you're playing it that it's just getting your brain into these heavyweight like rules of going, I need to do this, I need to do this.
But then if I want to do that, I need to do that and that first.
And I have to do this, this and this and this. And it's all about, I've got to build up because I'm aiming for this thing. But the only way to do that is I have to do X, Y, Z and A through to E first. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is the absolutely best Lacerda game. If not, I think one of the best board games of all time. I just absolutely would always recommend this completely.
My number 2, completely battered.
Well loved, we'll call it
so
well
I've
loved.
had this one for a while. My number 2 is Game of Thrones board game.
I've been sitting here for days. Start the damn joust before I piss myself.
This game has kind of hovered around my top 10 for years. I mean, I played it back when this second edition of it came out. And back then I was just thinking, oh, this is like one of the greatest games ever made. And then obviously the TV show came out, and then it was a fantastic game with almost no luck involved, that had a theme that made it easy to sort of bring it to the table. It was a theme that, you know, you could get the average person to play with you. I mean, they might regret it because it's a pretty heavy game. And in terms of strategy, it's just super chess, almost. I mean, it's not even really chess, is it? You've only got a few different types of pieces on the board, but there's no way of winning this game without dicking over your friends.
Do you have a shred of honor?
It's extreme levels of diplomacy, so you kind of need to make friends and not make too many enemies early on, but at some point, if you want to win the game, you're gonna have to get your claws out and you get stuck in. What's kind of elevated this back to my second favourite game of all time, I suppose we'll call it, is an app that came out for it. I remember playing it, I don't know, over 10 years ago when I first played it, and I just always wanted to play it over and over again to sort of get to grips with it and get to learn the game. And it's not an easy game to get to the table. You kind of need 6 people to play it. And it's long, and people are going to get upset, and they're going to cry and get annoyed with you. So
gonna hold grudges for a very long time.
One word, and I hit you again.
I'm telling Mother.
It's not a game that's easy to get to the table, but I've played it a decent amount on the app just against the AI, and it kind of scratched enough of the itch to kind of let me go, okay, yeah, I've kind of had my fill enough that I played with it enough to know how much of a good game it is. And then the expansion, again, it elevates it and it adds more options. But then last time we played it, a game lasted about 8 hours, so you're talking Twilight Imperium levels, but this is a game that I don't mind playing for 8 hours. I mean, ideally it doesn't play for 8 hours, and then there's also the Feast for Crows expansion makes it a quick-ish 4-player game, where instead of having to wipe other people off the board and go for those strongholds and castles, you now have objectives, and if you meet the right number of objectives, you can win the game in a short period of time. So you have got different ways of playing the game. You've got a decent 4-player game, you've got a brilliant 5 or 6-player game, I would say, base game wise, and then you throw the expansion in.
Where are my dragons?
And then you've got this elevated experience, which is a bit overlong, but it's just such a clever game. Every card that you have in this game is really well thought out, because it's one of those games where you start with a hand of cards, you have a battle, and in every battle, each person involved in that battle will play a card. But the cards that you play are then discarded. So the next battle you have one less card to choose from. And not all your cards are good. Some are good and some are just awful. So eventually you're gonna have to play your bad cards, and it's not until you play your last card, which stays down, and then you pick up the rest of your hand, that you are back to full strength, apart from the final card that you play down. So it's almost like sometimes you want to lose some battles just so you can get the cards back, but then people know when you're weak. So it's just this really clever push and pull of taking over things at the right time, making friends, making enemies, knowing when to go all out, knowing when sometimes you just need to make a few sacrifices. And also, it's just so incredibly Game of Thrones. It's so incredibly thematic to what that series is, what the Song of Ice and Fire series is. So yeah, in terms of a thematic game, it's impeccable. In terms of strategy, I don't really think there's any other game on this scale that works as well as this. So that's just why it's my number 2.
So
number 1 game of all time.
So, my number 1 is Mansions of Madness.
Second edition.
Second edition, yeah. So this is also the second sort of Lovecraftian themed game on my list. So I should say, I do quite like the Lovecraftian world. Not Lovecraft himself, for obvious reasons.
But I suppose H.P. Lovecraft was a racist too. Oh, was he really? Like how racist? Really?
I love horror. Anyway, that's one thing that is probably the biggest part of my special interests in this world is horror. And I do like this idea of different realms and old gods, and it will cause us to all go insane and things are seeping through to our world. And
do you also like the fact that the sort of era it's set in as well?
Yes, and I like the era. It's
so 1920s horror.
1920, I do like
cosmic horror.
Yeah.
Humans are such easy prey.
It's very similar to Death May Die in terms of it being scenario-based, wandering around game.
So what do you prefer about this to Death May Die, which is also obviously pretty near your top game of all time?
I think the app for this really sort of elevates it. I think without the app, Death May Die would probably win, because there would be so much. I think you've said it with some of your other games when you play like the computer version, there's so much going on that this would be quite long-winded and quite a chore to get everything sorted out if there wasn't this app just going, nope, I'm taking over this is what you do.
Yeah.
I love the scenarios, because like Death May Die, there are lots of different scenarios, but this now with the app actually comes with a lot of fan-made, which often are actually better than
at least on par with this.
Yeah.
So there's a Valkyrie app. So this game's finished as far as this edition is, and you know what? The way that Fantasy Flight work is they will do a version of their game and then they'll throw expansions at it, and then they'll go, okay, buy all that stuff, wait on it for a couple of years, and then they'll bring out a new edition. It happened with Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror 2nd edition we really enjoy, and it's very similar to this. Use the same investigators, loads of expansions, and then they brought out a sequel which was Eldritch Horror, which we also went all in on pretty much, and then they brought out 3rd edition, and it wasn't as good. I've played the 1st edition of this, which is without an app, and it was just fiddly. It was fiddly, and one person needed to be basically effectively a DM running the monsters. But then in this, the app runs the monsters. And the best thing I find about it is it's so simple. I haven't done a rules thing for this because, for one, Universal Head's done one and his work is great. But also, on your turn you do 2 actions, and the actions are so simple. Move this number of spaces, or have a fight, or do this. It's so simple because you only need a tiny little reminder of what you can do, because the app does it for you. Yeah. It's one of the earliest app integration games there is, but it's still one of the best. It's still one of the best. And the fact that the Fantasy Flight are done with it, and they'll probably eventually do a new version, but that's fine because the fan base works so hard on so many excellent Valkyrie, scenarios for the game that it feels like it's almost infinite. And that's without us going back to replay old missions again, because it's been so long since we played some of them that I'd happily go back and try them again.
There's replayability, because I've forgotten what some of those original missions were. I think it's just the first time you showed me this game, I loved it. And this is a testament to the game to show that it's still my number 1. I still love this. I just think there's so much in it with you're basically just exploring, a story is unfolding, you have fighting, you have puzzles, actually physical puzzles in the app, don't you, that you have to work out for yourself. I just love basically the overall, I am living through an actual horror story. I'm getting to do a choose your own adventure horror story, and I get to actively make choices that will affect that.
Yeah.
I get to explore and solve a mystery and have all these monsters appear and like all these we've got all the investigators, so you've got all these interesting powers. I always have fun, like the same with Death May Die. I just have fun every time having this story unfold.
Yeah.
Getting to be part of a horror world, which all the scenarios are very different as well, like Death May Die.
Yeah, they're really
different end goals that I need to do, and I like within this, because of all the expansions we've got, there's things like, oh, you could be on a train, you could be in a village, you could be on a boat, you could be in a museum. There's, even though it's like, you know, it's just tiles, it doesn't look that different. It's more the imagination aspect I can use if I'm in all these different 1920s horror movie kind of aspects. I don't think I found anything that scratches the horror itch in me as much as this game does.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it always has a special place for both of us.
There's one thing, I mean, I'm going to say this for another video, but the way that I proposed was with this game. I'll go into more detail in a video, but basically I made my own scenario, which was a ruse for me to propose during lockdown in 2020. So yeah, more on that I think in a later video because it's a bit more in depth. But
that goes to show why this game has not just such a special place in my heart, but probably yours as well, because
But I will say, regardless of the fact that I used this game to propose to you, this was your number one game before I did that. Which is one of the reasons why I used this game to propose. But I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to top it after that.
But it just means then that now even more so, because of that proposal, that this will always have very big significant meanings for me, and it will always be a very special game to me.
I mean, will you say that there's probably other games that ultimately, I mean, like I say, when we talk about a top 10 or even top 100 games, your number one game, you might on any given day not be in the mood to play it. So there's certainly other games that you might prefer to this game, or maybe even on certain days be like, oh, I'm not in the mood to play Manchester Madness. But ultimately, it will, unless they come out with a third edition that's even better, this is kind of what you're looking for from...
Yeah.
You think this game basically doesn't have any faults by putting it at number one?
Yeah, I think, and I feel like even though, like we say, they're not making it anymore, so all the scenarios you get from the game in the app, that's it now. And there is a lot, but I do think that now having the Valkyrie fan-made ones means that, yeah, then even more so this can never end, because now I have probably hundreds of scenarios to choose from, and like there might be some fan-made ones we'll even revisit again because they were so good, but you'll forget how they went. So yeah, I just think this is a game that's gonna have a lot of replayability forever for me, just because it's always got so many different scenarios to choose from.
Yeah.
That's my number one, Mansions of Madness.
So my number one has already been mentioned, and people might know how much I love Great Western Trail, but ultimately, yeah, my number one game of all time is Great Western Trail New Zealand. For a while, Great Western Trail First Edition was my favourite game of all time, and then they improved it with the Second Edition. And then they bought out Argentina, which I like. I think I prefer Second Edition to Argentina. I certainly prefer Second Edition with the expansion to Argentina. But then last year they brought out New Zealand, and this is just the best version of my favourite game. So ultimately it's my number one game. Great Western Trail is another rondel game. You're moving your sheep herder in this game.
No, he's a cowboy sheep herder.
What is he? I know he's a herder or whatever. You're moving your little sheep fella around a rondel. We've already talked about the multi-use cards, but what elevates this one over base game Great Western Trail to me is this game has deck building elements to it. But in the New Zealand version of it, the deck building elements are elevated. You're putting cards into your deck that trigger other things to happen. You remove them and you immediately draw another card into your hand. We've had similar things to that in previous versions of the game, but when you play them, you're hurting your hand because you're losing them. Whereas these are, put these great little cards into your deck, and there's a variety of them available each game, so again there's a little bit more variability and replayability there. But in this game, when you play them, you immediately draw another card, so you do want your deck full of those powerful little cards. Almost a simple thing to add to it. It almost seems silly why it wasn't in there from the start, but once it's in there, it's almost hard to kind of lose that. And then all the elements really work together. I mean, moving your ship around the board, the fact that you can deliver halfway around the map by shearing a sheep. I mean, you can always focus on different ways of winning the game in the previous versions, but in this one, it's all really familiar stuff, but it kind of goes about it in a really unique way. There's literally nothing that I would change about this game. And I really like Alexander Pfister's games. Probably my next favourite of his after the Great Western Trail series would be Mombasa, which was changed to, I can't think, it's got a space theme now. But that game is brilliant. Maracaibo, I love Maracaibo. Even Blackout Hong Kong, I mean
that's my second favourite after the Great Western Trail, I think.
And then even his smaller games like Owl of Sky, so many brilliant games. So he's probably my favourite designer. I know only one of his games is in my top 10, but you can't put every game in there. We want to show a bit of variety, but this is, it's a perfect game to me. It's hard to recommend it as an entry level for Great Western Trail because it kind of builds off what was there before. And when you said before that this is you kind of found this simpler, I think it's because you've played enough iterations of Great Western Trail. If you were coming to this from scratch, it's a lot unless you're used to somewhat heavy games. It's definitely a more complicated game to play than the original Great Western Trail, but the original Great Western Trail has a slightly sort of fussy way of doing the delivery mechanic. That's one thing that I think Argentina and this kind of improved upon. They kind of made it so that it was a little bit more intuitive. Having something be a bit more intuitive, whether it's harder or not, ultimately makes it simpler in so many ways. But yeah, it's just the greatest game I've ever played. I was so skeptical when they brought out these new editions. I was even skeptical of a second edition because no one wants to buy the same game twice. Hearing that there was 2 other versions of it coming out, I was even more skeptical. Part of me wishes they were just expansions in the same way that Rails to the North is an expansion. It's an expansion we pretty much always play with playing base game. Certainly now that we've got 2 other versions of it, I don't think I would ever really go back to just base game Great Western Trail. To me, there's 3 versions of Great Western Trail, and the base game includes Rails to the North. Because I would put this at number 1, and then I would put second edition with Rails to the North, and then Argentina. And then I would put base games. So if I've got 3 ways of playing my favourite game, why would I play the 4th worst one for whatever reason, when there's 3 other ways that I prefer to play the game?
I agree though. I feel like when I heard Argentina and New Zealand, I was like, do you really need 2 different versions? I was incredibly skeptical. Then we played Argentina and I was like, oh no, great, this is really intuitive, I'm really enjoying this, I might prefer it to the base game. But I was still a bit skeptical, like, but we also don't need New Zealand, that can't be any better. And then, same as you, we've got it, and I played it and I was like, okay, this is actually the best version of Great Western Trail. So I'm glad they did in the end, because I do think we've come out with the best version of it. So yeah, if both of us saying that doesn't recommend this to you, I'm not sure what will. I
mean, it's almost as if this couldn't exist if it wasn't for the time between the first edition and this coming out and all the iterations in between. You needed to go down that path to sort of perfect a game. And it makes you think maybe it'd be interesting to see if any other games did this or have done this. Brass is the perfect example. Brass was deluctified by being turned into Brass Lancashire. In that process, they improved on it, whether you agree with that or not. I haven't actually played Brass Lancashire. I just know that I really enjoyed Brass Birmingham. and people typically say that's their favourite version of the game. I wonder whether I've been playing a worse version of it. Lancashire might be the better version, but ultimately what that game set out to do was to improve upon what it came before. Now, there's been so many versions of this. If the first edition of the game was what you see here, then I'd go, well, how can you improve on that?
Yeah.
It almost makes you go, okay, take your favourite game and have 3 other versions of it come out. It doesn't negate the need for the base game. I'll still always enjoy playing the base game with the expansion. It's just a different experience. And the reason why we have so many games is just for different experiences and just to be able to play games that match the kind of current mood you're in. If you watch this to the end, and I know there's not many of you here, and hopefully in the future there'll be more subscribers and they'll appreciate this video hopefully as much as you did. I just want to say thank you for helping support me and give me justification to keep doing more of the sheets that I make, and I'm happy to share them with you and other people on BGG and just try and make people's gaming experiences just that much more enjoyable. The reasons why I set out to make them is just so that I can have a large game collection and just go and just know that I can pick any of them off my shelf and just pretty much just play them regardless of how much of the rules I've forgotten. It just means that we can have more and more great gaming experiences and not just worry about having to play the same 5 to 10 games over and over again. But if you were going to play the same 5 to 10 games over again, they'd probably be the 5 to 10 games that we have each mentioned over these 2 videos. So again, thanks a lot, and we'll probably do something like this again sometime.
Bye!